What's up, guys? My name's Zach and I like breaking axles. Jesus, dude, make sure you're on there.
I do not approve.
So BMW has these fancy freaking bolts here for the rear control arm that allow you to adjust the camber, because they have an eccentric washer like this, except our bolt broke. So we just freaking found a bolt in the bolt bin and just sent it. What's up, guys? How's everybody doing today? I want to start off this video by apologizing that I haven't uploaded in, like, it's going on like 2 weeks now that I haven't uploaded. And the reason is I just haven't had anything interesting happen the last 2 weeks. I want to try and keep consistent uploads, but I don't want to just upload crap for no reason that's boring. I mean, my videos are already boring and stupid, so but you guys are lucky, because today I have another boring, stupid video for you guys. We're going to be talking about my E36, which I've had for about half a year now. I picked it up right before H2O, so end of September, beginning of October is around when I got it. So it's been about 6 months that I've had it. And then later on in the video, we're going to talk a little bit about the Corrado. There are some plans and some progress that's going to be made on it, so that's freaking awesome. I miss this car. I freaking love driving it every day. I'm very excited that I'm going to be getting that back on the road soon, but we'll talk about that later towards the end of the video. I'm going to be talking about reasons why you should buy an E36. Also, I'm going to throw in some reasons why you shouldn't buy an E36, depending on what kind of person you are. But since I've owned this thing for about 6 months now, let me just go through what's done with it so you guys kind of know what kind of E36 you're looking at, because a pristine M3 that you're paying 10 grand for is going to be a lot different than a $1,500 or $2,000 beater drift car. Under the hood with this M50 2.5 liter engine, we're staring in the turbocharger. It's a 53 trim 63 AR. Just kidding, that's the stock fucking air thing. It's completely stock, guys. I have really nothing done to this performance wise. The previous owner did do some things like solid engine mounts, so those definitely help. It's on coilovers. It still has a stock airbox. I was told it has a tune for 93 octane, which probably adds like 10-15 horsepower to what they came with stock, so it's probably still 10-1500 horsepower under what it came with stock, because I have no idea how many miles are on this thing. The cluster had like 230,000 on it when I got the car, and the cluster wasn't working. The odometer and the speedometer didn't work. But it is on coilovers. It has solid engine mounts. The thing is straight piped. It has a hydraulic e-brake, quick release steering wheel, all cool stuff. The hydraulic e-brake's a lot of fun to play with. This is my first rear wheel drive car, so this car really taught me how to drift. I guess I'm still learning. I shouldn't say it taught me, because I still have a lot to learn, because I am no pro drifter like everyone thinks, but I do pretty well in the snow. Coming to the back of the car, nothing fancy. It has a welded diff, so that definitely helps for drifting. If you want this car to drift, I would definitely recommend either getting an LSD or just doing the cheap thing that everyone does, is welding the diff. I drive this car with a welded diff daily. Every day I go to work and back, go wherever I want, and I beat the hell out of this thing. And I will say, if you want a daily drive with a welded diff, the only thing you'll have to remember is have a bunch of axles ready to go, and don't be afraid to freaking replace axles, because in the 6 months I've owned this car, I've done the axles 6 times. Pretty much once a month I break an axle. Pretty much every time I drop the clutch or I kick the clutch, I know, like, it's a 50-50 chance of me breaking an axle. But this is no different than when I owned my freaking Volkswagens. I think for the price range right now, an E36 is a perfect beater car, or a perfect drift car to learn how to drift if you've never had a rear-wheel drive car before. Just because you can pick them up for like 15, like I said, 1,500, 2 grand all day long. They're probably going to have high miles. The body's probably not going to be in the best freaking shape. But if you don't care about what the body looks like, just make sure it's not freaking rotted to all hell, and you got yourself a good little freaking drift beater. They'll teach you how to drift. And at the end of the day, if you throw it in the fucking wall, it was a $1,500 drift beater. Like, put a new quarter panel on it. I would recommend getting a 325 or a 328, the inline 6 engine. Don't get the 4-cylinder if you want to drift, unless you plan on ripping it out or throwing some fucking turbo setup on there. This is my first BMW, so I don't know much about the engines. I know for a fact that I want to boost this thing. Eventually, if it doesn't need a head gasket before I boost it, it's going to need a head gasket before I boost it. So that's kind of my plans for this thing. I want to rip out the rear seat, the rear interior. I do want to put a cage in it. Interior gone, cage in it, turbo setup, and then I want to go wide body. I was thinking of doing over fenders in the rear and then just doing flares up front to just save a little bit of money. I think it'll look cool too. We'll freaking space this out. But there's no sense going wide body till I can actually fucking spin fat tires, because you really got to clutch kick this thing to get it to break loose in second. This car will teach you how to drift. It's not like just get in it, push the throttle, turn the wheel, and you're going to be going sideways. It's not that easy. You have to transfer the weight of the car. You have to actually learn the feel for drifting. So that's why I think this is good. This, a Miata, anything like that doesn't have a lot of power, perfect cars to learn how to drift. Because if you can drift with a car that has like no power, it's going to be a lot easier to control something that has 600-700 horse and can just light up tires with a quarter throttle blip. I guess all in all, if you're mechanically inclined and you like working on your own cars and stuff, an E36 is definitely a great car to get into. Issues with an E36: one, rust. Check the floor pans, check the rockers, check the rear strut towers, check the front strut towers for that matter. Just check all the strut towers. Check out the thing really good for rust. These things are known to rust really bad. The strut towers blow out of the rear. I think these were actually repaired. Cooling systems. That's a major failing point in these engines. Usually the fan goes, or the water pump goes, or the thermostat gets stuck shut, or the fucking radiator gets clogged, and then one of these little things ends up fucking cracking the head or tearing up the head gasket. So just look over the cooling system, check the coolant, check the oil, make sure they're not mixing if you're looking to buy one of these, and look and see if anything was replaced, see if they know anything about it. When I got this car, pretty much everything was replaced but the reservoir and the head gasket. But it has an aluminum rad. It has aftermarket electric fans that are wired to a switch on the fucking grill. Electrical issues. I've definitely noticed more electrical issues with other cars, but just like when I got this thing, the cluster didn't work, it didn't light up, I had no speed. All I had was a tach. I had coolant and gas gauge, and then the coolant and gas gauge stopped working, and then my tail lights stopped working, and then freaking my speedometer or my tach stopped working. So I got a new cluster because the previous owner said that's what he thought it would be, which made sense to me a little bit, but I kind of didn't think all that stuff would go out on the cluster. But I got a new cluster and it lit up. I was so happy. I had an orange cluster at night. It was so cool, but I still couldn't see what I was doing because nothing freaking worked. I ended up replacing a fuse for the tail light, and it got my gas gauge and my coolant gauge to work again. And with the new cluster and my tach worked. So then the only thing that didn't work was like my odometer and my speedometer and stuff, but who cares? You don't need that stuff. Just when the oil's black, change it. when you see a cop, hit the brake pedal, right? But anyway, I freaking went behind the car underneath of it when I was replacing one of my like 56 axles that I've done in this car already, and somebody didn't have the fucking speed sensor plugged in on the diff. So I plugged that in, and now I have a speedometer, I have an odometer, I can do 3,000 mile oil changes like you're supposed to. I don't really keep track of it, dude. When it needs an oil, if you know your car, you know when it needs an oil change because it starts running different. You can feel it. So just change your oil when it needs changed. Or if you don't understand cars, just go buy the sticker. You're gonna buy an E36, cooling system, rust, and electrical issues. If those 3 areas check out, I'd say pick it up, go for it, snag it. It's worth it. Other cool things about E36s, there's so many parts available. If you're going to drift events and stuff, there's going to be lots of E36s there, lots of spare parts and stuff. At least this is what I've heard. I have yet to actually get to any drift events because I'm just a fucking broke boy in the middle of fucking Lancaster trying to keep this thing running. If you freaking want one, get one. I highly recommend it. First rear-wheel drive car. I've been into German cars, mostly Volkswagens, but this is definitely the most fun car I've had. It's fun in its own way. I like my GTI just as much as this, but in a different way, because the GTI was way faster. This thing's a fucking slow turd, but it's fun. You can go sideways. Not that I didn't go sideways in my GTI, because I yanked e-brake all the time, but that's really not the same thing. If you like E36s, check out those areas. Make sure the car checks out, and I'd say go for it. Just be ready to replace some parts and work on it if you get something in the $1,500, $2,000 range, because a $1,500, $2,000 car, it's going to need work. It's not going to be freaking perfect. All right, guys, let's talk about this freaking Corrado. Oh, typical Corrado, fucking door handle's broken, so we can't get in. I have to get in from the passenger side on this thing. But this thing got parked because, let's see, 2018 cruise week, spring cruise week of 2018, I took this down there and actually ended up blowing up the head gasket down in Ocean City. Drove all the way home with a blown head gasket. It took like 8-9 hours. The video's up there. You can see me freaking talking about it because I did a video the whole time down at cruise week, and I was so pissed off about the head gasket. I don't think I recorded anything on the way home. I was pissed. I had to stop like every 15 minutes, every 15 miles or so, let the thing cool down, fill it up with coolant. Anyway, long story short, this thing needs a head gasket. My plans were to freaking turbo this car, so if I'm doing the head gasket, doing the timing chains, doing the clutch, I really wanted to turbo it. After talking to everyone, everyone's like, don't turbo it on OBD1, there's no good software, it's going to run like shit unless you're open watt. And I'm like, I'm full watt all the time, everywhere I go, so what's it matter? But I found a guy that has some of the parts I need to swap this over to OBD2, so I should be making a video on this weekend on going to pick those parts up. But also, before I can even get to this, I have to get this thing done. Some of you guys might know this car, some of you might not. It's been on my channel before. I actually replaced the head gasket on this. I wanted to do the timing chains, which I had to take off anyway. They looked all right, so I just put the timing chains and guides back on, but it was good practice. I got the head gasket back on. I actually got the thing fired up. I had a little bit of freaking oil in it. Fired up, it ran, fucking pistons didn't hit valves, so I know I did the timing right. So that was my first timing job. It was pretty cool that I got it done right. I kind of lost progress on this because when I went to put the freaking axles and stuff back in, I realized that I needed new hubs, new steering knuckles, new axles, because I think the one side the axle was frozen in the hub, and the other side I had to beat to hell so hard to get it out. They needed wheel bearings, whatever, and I haven't had the extra money to freaking invest into this thing that's just been sitting here. I think it's going to make an interesting couple videos, finishing this thing up, getting it out of here, and then I need to get some light in here. I do have some lights that I need to wire up. I know a little bit about like electronics and cars and wiring in cars and all that stuff. DC voltage is fine. I don't know anything about AC voltage, so when I wire those up, it might be my last video. I'll definitely capture what I can for you guys. Once this thing is done and out of here, and I have the fucking lights set up, and I have my tools cleaned up, because look at this freaking mess. This is like half my tools, and the other half are in the back of the Beamer. And I actually have a toolbox. Shout out to Nick Lukin. I don't know if you freaking watch my videos anymore, but he hooked me up with that toolbox. There's the old head from this thing. It had a blown out spark plug. So I just replaced the whole head. This thing also needs cleaned out on the freaking inside from sitting in this garage, which I'm not worried about. That's easy, fun stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope I didn't completely bore you to death with this video. I know I needed to post it something. I didn't have too much to post, so I hope you guys like my thoughts on the E36. If you're tuning in for the first time, please hit that like button, comment below, give me some feedback, especially if you didn't like it and you're not going to hit the like button. Tell me why you're not going to hit the like button down below. But yeah, if you guys like this video and you want to see more, this is what I have to come. We got to get this freaking Mark III VR done and out of here, get this garage cleaned up so I can get the Corrado in here. Because ultimately, I need to get the Corrado back on the road so I can do some work to the BMW and have 2 cars on the road again. Because if you want to have 2 fun cars, you have to have 2 fun running cars, because one's going to break. Like the BMW leaves me sit every time it breaks an axle. It doesn't leave me sit, but I don't like driving it on one axle. So if I had another car that I can hop in and go, sweet. Then I don't have to beat the hell out of a car while it's already broken, and I can start getting ahead. Also, another reason that I got to get that Jetta done is if my cousin still wants it. It's been like probably a year or 2 now, but she said she wanted it, and I said I was going to fix it for her. Her stepdad was going to do the bodywork and paint on the Corrado, so while I'm doing the engine and the freaking head gasket and chains and all that shit, I might as well pull that out and send this thing over to get paint and bodywork done. Now the paint's not too bad on this car. The problem is one of my dickhead buddies wasn't paying attention. The first H2O I took it to only had the car for like 2-3 months and got up against the quarter panel here. It doesn't look as bad with the rub strip on, but you can tell by the door it's not lined up at all, and this door's latched, so that whole quarter panel has to be fixed. So I figured it might as well get repainted, and if it's going to get repainted, it might as well get a fresh coat on the bay. Question for you guys: my hood latch failed me and my original hood flew up, killed my windshield on my way to work a year or so ago. And I wanted to get an OEM hood, but a carbon fiber hood for this thing was cheaper than an OEM hood. I don't know if I like the carbon fiber or not. Obviously, it needs re-cleared and touched up. But would you guys paint the hood the same color as the rest of the car? Or would you touch it up and clear it and make it look nice like carbon fiber? Or I was even thinking, if this carbon fiber is too hard to clean up, we could even wrap it in carbon fiber, because it's not really a fraud thing to do, because it is a carbon fiber hood. So let me know what you think down below. I also have the E-Code headlights, which go for like $1,000 for the VR6 ones. I got to get the harnesses and everything for them. I have the grill. The grill's in the car. I forget why I had the grill off. I think because the hood was being stupid. But let me know what you guys think. What color should we paint that hood when we paint it?